And finally, it's 100 years since the start of World War I. A century later, the son of Robert Graves, one of Britain's best-known war poets, remembers the profound effect the conflict had on his father.
He'd never really recovered. I don't think anyone recovered from that war.
Grey, haunted eyes, absent-mindedly glaring from wide, uneven orbits.
He sort of sat me on his knee as a 4 or 5 years old. And one of the things he used to do, he said, "Feel here." And he had a lump above his brow, which was actually a piece of granite.
One brow drooping somewhat over the eye, because of a missile fragment still in hearing, skin deep, as a foolish record of old world fighting.
In July 1916, which is the date of the Battle of the Somme, he takes a walk into the wood, actually looking for overcoats and things like that for winter, for his men. And he comes across this dead German, pretty gory sight. A poem came along shortly afterwards in which he describes this. To you who'd read my songs of war and only hear of blood and fame, I'll say, you've heard it said before, war's hell. And if you doubt the same, today I found in Mamet's wood a certain cure for lust of blood, where, propped against a shattered trunk in a great mess of things unclean, sat a dead Boche. He scowled and stunk, with clothes and face of sodden green, big-bellied, spectacled, cropped-haired, dripping black blood from nose and beard. You know, he suffered from shell shock. He had certainly nightmares until at least 10 years after. One of the things he found very hard to accept was this idea of joyfulness at the end of the war.
When the days of rejoicing are over, when the flags are stowed safely away, they will dream of another wild war to end wars and another wild armistice day. But the boys who are killed in the trenches, who fought with no rage and no rent, we left them stretched out on their pellets of mud, low down with the worm and the ant.
Here in Mallorca, he could very much live his own life. In those terms, I think it was good for him. And he could really concentrate here on what he really loved doing, which was writing. When we used to go down to the beach, I remember, and of course he also carried with him his army knapsack and his water bottle. But certainly he didn't have to talk with anyone else. You know, he had very few people he could relate to here. He was always working. Towards the end of his life, the war started coming back to him.
I don't dream, but I got a very strong mental picture of it. Now I can see the whole thing as vividly as I can in this room.
When he was in a wheelchair and we'd wheel him and there was a big bang or something, and he'd sort of always jump if something was going, or he'd almost point a gun at you. It was a very strange end of a life. But at the very end, he was sitting in a chair and just sighed, and that was it. He died very peacefully here.
William Graves at his father's house in Mallorca. Well, that's all from Witness for this month, and indeed the year. Next year, we'll be bringing you more tales of our times from around the globe. But for now, from me and from the rest of the team here at Witness, bye-bye.